Good evening, everyone. Voices in the Spotlight is back after a short break with its yet another new episode. And today we have our esteemed guest, Shuvadeep Banerjee Chaudhuri, with us. He's an author and researcher with a background in strategies in the corporate houses for over 2 decades, with an academic background in economics and management studies. And he's the author of the book Unique Marvels of Ancient Indian Civilization. And today we are going to discuss Monsoon and Civilizations. Is it a match? So, technically, this is the sixth episode of Voices in the Spotlight. And thank you, dear audience, for being with us. And that really inspires us to bring many new episodes for all of you. আর আমি হচ্ছি তোমাদের হোস্ট Pallavi Ghoshal. I am the co-founder of Cinedrama Entertainment as well as an author. So let us start with our today's episode. It's going to be a very interesting discussion. So Shubhodipda, welcome to the stage, and it's always an honor to have you with us.
Thank you very much, Pallavi, for your kind words and your accolades. And you do conduct yourself yourself in this particular program very well, and it is worth mentioning. And also, in fact, you yourself is an accomplished professional with that of engineering background in fact in polymer science, and also a person who has worked in R&D of very blue chip companies, and also in fact you are a author in fact of various fictional origins, and at the same time what I guess is that you are also conducting this particular podcast series in fact in the one of the most interesting ways, right?
Oh,
And in fact the topic which you have chosen, in fact that is also one of my favorite. And being a student of economics and also taking cues in fact in science and also that of history and archaeology, this is one of the most important topic, I believe, that which is acts as a pivot in fact in terms of taking the not only the civilization ahead but also the economy ahead, and also the economy takes care of the well-being and also of that of the entire well-being of the society and also of that of the country, right? And it has also has its own geopolitical and strategic advantages.
true, true, true. So basically, monsoon and civilization is very interesting when we talk about these two terms. So if
Right.
you are given a chance of writing on this particular as the theme as the core, so
Mhm.
if you are asked to blend both of them, what would it be? Would it be more of a historical exploration, or you are going to make it a sort of literary journey? What is your choice?
Well, actually, thank you for the question. In fact, it's a very interesting question. Well, Pallavi, in fact, what I have a plan, in fact, to definitely historical, but along with that, since monsoon is also it touches one sensorial part and that of the art and aesthetics of
Hmm.
us, and in fact, we Indians, in fact, are very enriched in that. We actually take pride in our art and aesthetics, and also with that of our kala, or in fact Chausat kala, what actually we define, like
Hmm.
natyam, nityam,
Hmm.
geetam, padyam, and also writing prose and that of the poetry.
Hmm.
So definitely along with that, in fact I would like to also write a poem also. And
Oh,
in fact I have written it also. I'll just quote some few lines from that. I
sure.
had a chance of visiting Balasore, which is there in fact in Orissa,
Hmm.
and from there Chandipur is also not that far off. It is actually on the coast of Bay of Bengal,
Hmm.
right? And
Hmm.
that Chandipur beach has got a peculiarity that at around midnight, nearing midnight, and also at midnight, actually the entire shore fills up with that of the sea waves.
Hmm.
And in fact, after a certain time in the morning, in fact, it goes off.
Hmm.
Right? In fact, it is one of the most virgin sea beaches, in fact, after California. And
Hmm.
in fact, it had a chance. In fact, I had a chance, or in fact, it was a chance also. Or in fact, the destiny had a chance. So I means it had a chance. That's what I said. That I, landed up, in fact, in one of the, very rainy season out there.
Hmm.
Out of my work, in fact, I just, went there to just, refresh myself.
Hmm.
And I didn't know that it was actually a full moon lit night.
Yeah.
Right. And in fact, I was seeing the rains, it was falling on that of the, sea waves, advancing sea waves,
Hmm.
and also that of the, you can see the raindrops, in fact, very clearly and very precisely with that of in moonlight. And in fact, I felt that it is the freshness which
Hmm.
actually has touched my mind. So I wrote a poem that's actually a pretty long. In fact, I'm just going to quote some bit of it.
Sure.
Freshness, thy change. In fact, for your information, I used to write poems, in fact, under the pen name called Lonely Shepherd. Right. In
Okay.
fact, I have written some poems also. So, freshness, thy change. In abbreviating the ebbs of life, a twill of rain tide is due, touring to the rightful strike. I pray the freshness, thy change, which will change your life. Stood at a tarring queue, freshness would change the hue of your life. In the evening of your life, let it be freshness and sweetness of the wind, thy change for goodness in your life. Even in the lowest of the eve, in whatever way, freshness thy change, the modes of life, I wish that your life change for goodness. Come what may, the outcome be forward, we must be treed, for that is by the moving spree to move and look ahead in the freshness, thy change for goodness and liveliness. Let the new rain, tide, and the soothe of the light change your life, and thy goodness and happiness be that in your life. Let's onwards march with your hand in mine. In the new moonlight, be my care, be my love. Bring in freshness, I thy change. Soothe me and touch my heart. I pray to light, rain, and tide. So, in fact, I wrote this poem, in fact, thinking of that particular scene and that of the scenario. So, I do understand that it also has its sensorial beings. And in fact, being in absolutely a very archaical matters of archaeology and that of history, which I love to speak, and also linking with that of the soil productivity and that of the soil health card data and dynamics, which actually I like to pick up. In fact, in doing that particular in terms of economic turnaround, or in fact economic perspective of that of the agroeconomics and economic health as a whole. But
Hmm.
definitely, in fact, I will definitely try to include my poems also.
Great, great, great. And Monsoon, I feel it has inspired art, music, and literature. And
Oh yes, definitely, definitely,
মনসুন যে
definitely.
আজকে এটা কিন্তু অনেক বছর ধরে কিন্তু মনসুন আর্ট মিউজিক লিটারেচারকে ইন্সপায়ার করে এসেছে। সো
একদম
তোমার
একদম
কি
বরাবর।
মনে হয় এটার কি কারণ হয়ে থাকতে পারে?
এটা অ্যাকচুয়ালি ব্যাপারটা কি হয় যে যখন বৃষ্টি পড়ে, সেই ছোটবেলা থেকে বৃষ্টি পড়ে টাপুর টুপুর, রাইট? ইনফ্যাক্ট it gives a kind of a sensation in our mind, right? And also the environment around, right?
হুম,
মানে যে পরিবেশটার মধ্যে আমরা পরিবেষ্টিত আছি, এবং
হুম,
সেই একটা সেই মেঘের একটা গর্জন, তারপরে বৃষ্টি এলো, মাটির একটা সেই সোঁদা মাটির গন্ধ, right? It
হুম,
actually touches all our senses, right? Five senses. And to poem, or in fact to write a poem, or in fact to a poem, I should
হুম,
say to poem, in fact you require an aesthetic order, and also
true,
that of the sense of art, right?
হুম,
And
হুম,
এবং এই জিনিসটা কি হয়েছে যে আমাদের যারা কবি, বা আমাদের যারা লেখক, বা আমাদের যারা নাট্যকার, হ্যাঁ, যে কটা আমরা মানে ইনফ্যাক্ট বলতে পারি, মানে যে কটা কলাক্ষেত্রের মধ্যে আমাদের যেগুলো আছে সেগুলো বলতে পারি, তাদের
হুম,
যারা ইনফ্যাক্ট যারা ওখানকার যারা মানে বিদ্বৎ জনেরা আছেন বা
হুম,
গুণীজনেরা আছেন, তাদের সবার মাইন্ডে টাচ করেছে, এবং কেউ
একদম,
না কেউ কিছু কাজ করে গেছেন। রবি
একদম,
ঠাকুর তো সবচেয়ে বড় কাজ করেছেন, সেটা হচ্ছে যে বর্ষা যখন, এবং বর্ষা পর্যায়ে গান এবং বর্ষা পর্যায়ে কবিতা লিখে গেছেন।
অবশ্যই।
এবং এই পর্যায়ে মানে আমি যেটা বলতে চাই সেটা হচ্ছে যে পার্টিকুলারলি ওনার কাছে ওই জিনিসটা অনেক বেশি স্মৃতি কেটেছে, কারণ উনি বিভিন্ন জায়গায় গেছেন ইনফ্যাক্ট
হুম,
বর্ষাকে উপভোগ করার জন্য। উনি মেঘালয়ে গেছেন, উনি এতেও গেছেন, কি বলে, বিভিন্ন জায়গায়, মানে যেখানে আর কি সেইভাবে আর কি বর্ষা হয় সেখানে গেছেন।
হুম,
এবং মানে ওনার মাইন্ডে, মানে যেহেতু কবি একজন তো বটেই, এবং উনি একজন সবচেয়ে বড় মানে ফিলোসফার, সেই জায়গায় কি হয়েছে যে পার্টিকুলারলি ওনাকে এই জিনিসটা টাচ করেছে এবং উনি জিনিসটা লিখেছেন। এবং
হুম,
এছাড়াও মানে যারা ফিল্ম বা ইনফ্যাক্ট যারা ফিল্ম ডাইরেক্টর, তাদের কাছেও খুব জিনিসটা টাচ করে, এবং ব্যাপারটা হয়ে গেছে কি অনেক রকমের সিনেমা তৈরি হয়, যেটা
হ্যাঁ,
ইনফ্যাক্ট আমি আমার আমার দেখা ইনফ্যাক্ট ওয়ান অফ দ্য মোস্ট ইম্পর্টেন্ট সিনেমা, এটা হচ্ছে লাগান এবং লাইফ ইন আ মেট্রো, রাইট? এবং
হ্যাঁ,
লাইফ ইন আ মেট্রোটা আমার কাছে খুব ইন্টারেস্টিং লেগেছিল। এবং এই জিনিসটা হচ্ছে যে মানে আমার আমার কাছে মানে মানে এটা এটা মনে হয়েছে মনসুন হ্যাজ গট ইটস ওন ফিল অ্যান্ড মনসুন হ্যাজ গট ইটস ওন টাচ অ্যান্ড ইট অলসো টাচেস দ্যাট অফ দ্য sensorial senses of human beings and those people who have the quality of expressing in fact through various forms of art, writing, or in fact writing poetry, prose, in fact natya shastra, whatever it is, or in
হুম,
fact even film and filmatics, they try to express in their own way.
একদম একদম। সো দ্যাট মিনস ডিসপাইট দ্য ফ্যাক্ট দ্যাট যে তুমি হিস্টোরিক্যাল বুকস এর উপরে বেশি ইন্টারেস্টেড বা নন ফিকশন বুকস এ বেশি ইন্টারেস্টেড, স্টিল তোমার একটা পার্সোনাল কানেকশন আছে মনসুনের সাথে।
হুম হুম, একদম 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 একদম। তো সেটাই হচ্ছে ব্যাপার। এবং আমি আমার মানে দেখা মানে এটাও হয়েছে যে পার্টিকুলারলি যে আমি বিভিন্ন সময় পৌঁছে গেছি কোনো একটা জায়গায়,
হ্যাঁ,
সেটা ইভেন মেঘালয়তেও হয়েছে, কারণ ইনফ্যাক্ট আমাকে তো মানে কোম্পানির কাজে অনেক জায়গায় যেতে হতো। এবং কোম্পানির কাজে গিয়ে ইনফ্যাক্ট আমি দেখেছি যে সেই জায়গায় মানে আমি উপভোগ করেছি, বিশেষ করে পাহাড়ে। পাহাড়ে
হুম,
বর্ষা মানে ওটার একটা আলাদা একটা আমেজ, বুঝলে?
খুবই সুন্দর,
এবং
খুবই
আমার
সুন্দর।
আমার সৌভাগ্য হয়েছিল, ইনফ্যাক্ট আমি অনেকদিন শিলিগুড়িতে পোস্টেড ছিলাম, তো যখন তখন দার্জিলিং চলে যাওয়ার একটা সৌভাগ্য হতো হতো। এবং এছাড়াও যেটা আরেকটা সৌভাগ্য হতো সেটা হচ্ছে যে মাঝে মাঝে কাজের সূত্রে ইনফ্যাক্ট আসাম বা গুয়াহাটিতে যাওয়া, তখন ইনফ্যাক্ট আমি মেঘালয়তে যাওয়ার চেষ্টা করতাম, শিলংয়ে, রাইট?
হ্যাঁ,
আর
হুম,
আরেকটা সৌভাগ্য হয়েছিল যে একটা প্রজেক্টের ক্ষেত্রে অনেকদিন আমাকে মুসৌরিতে থাকতে হয়েছিল। মানে
মুসৌরি।
মানে শীত, গ্রীষ্ম, বর্ষা, মানে সবকটা ঋতু ইনফ্যাক্ট আমাকে ওখানে থাকতে হয়েছিল। এবং আমার সৌভাগ্য হয়েছিল সেই সময় মানে আমাদের রাস্কিন বন্ড, মানে যিনি একজন মানে নিজেই একজন ইনস্টিটিউশন এবং একজন প্রবাদ প্রতিম অথার, ওনার সম্বন্ধে এত আর বিশেষ কিছু বলার নেই। মানে at 91 he is still bubbling with energy and that of the boisterousness,
গুড
রাইট?
স্টোরি।
ওনার সঙ্গে একবার আমার দেখা করার সৌভাগ্য হয়েছিল। এবং
গ্রেট।
আমি বর্ষাটা খুব অনুভব করেছিলাম। এবং যেরকম কাদা প্যাচ প্যাচে বর্ষাও, মানে দিল্লির কাদা প্যাচ প্যাচে বর্ষা বা কলকাতার কাদা প্যাচ প্যাচে বর্ষা বা যে কোনো শহর কেন্দ্রিক কাদা প্যাচ প্যাচে বর্ষা বা ঠিক শহরের বাইরে, মানে আমার যেটা বর্ষাটা ভালো লেগেছে সেটা হচ্ছে যে একটা বেশ মানে নয় সামুদ্রিক পরিবেশ, যেটা একটু আগেই বললাম, তার উপর একটা কবিতাই লিখে ফেলেছিলাম। আর আরেকটা হচ্ছে যে একটা পাহাড়ি পরিবেশে ইনফ্যাক্ট আমার কাছে ওটা খুব ভালো লেগেছিল, বর্ষাটা।
গ্রেট, গ্রেট। তাহলে অ্যানশিয়েন্ট সিভিলাইজেশন যে টপিকটা নিয়ে তুমি বেশি কাজ করেছো, তো
হুম হুম।
হাউ ডু think that that particular phases or those ancient civilizations, how have they viewed the monsoon? ওরা কি ফিয়ার হিসাবে দেখতো, রেভারেন্স হিসাবে দেখতো, কিভাবে দেখতো?
See, actually, the fact is that monsoon was always a welcome, right? Because in fact, right from that of uh, the history of monsoon, which is happening since that of the Paleostronic period, that is that of the Ice Age,
হুম,
and which is almost 5 million years or even 10 million years ago. In fact, right from that of Paleostronic age, Ice
হুম,
Age, in fact, the changes were happening. And
হুম,
once the ice age was going off, in fact, in the last 11,000 years, or even the mid of that, in fact, almost 2.5 to almost 5 million years, there were a
হুম,
lot of changes happening on the earth and the under of the earth surface, right?
হুম,
That of the topography and that of the vegetational changes, that of the orbital changes with the orbital movement around the sun, and also with that of the tilt in the axis.
হুম,
These things have actually resulted into the formation of monsoon, which
হুম,
got added to that of being a concept which has been notified as
হুম,
that of the convergence, that interconvergence between that of the equator and that of the various tropical zones,
হুম,
that has converged to that of the monsoonal formation. Now,
great,
in fact, if you look into the world map, right, in fact, you can find out, this is what actually I have, tried to find out from the world atlas. In fact,
হুম,
I have found out that actually this particular thing is that if this be the case, then in fact the major monsoonal areas are that of the Indian side, that of the Indian subcontinent, the
হুম,
Indian peninsula, and that of the South China and that of the Korean peninsula. and also that of the the American, the South American zone, and
Hmm.
that of the parts of that of North America also, which are
Hmm.
actually that of the main monsoonal zones. So
Hmm.
if you cross the equator up to that of almost 40 degree, or in fact down below to another 40 degrees, so almost 80-degree up and down. In fact, there are a lot of monsoonal changes and monsoonal effects. Now, even in Australia, there are also monsoon. In fact, that is there. So, in fact,
Yeah.
India has got the boon of that of the monsoon having twice. That is
Hmm.
southwest monsoon and that of also that of the northwest monsoon.
True.
Now, in this case, in fact, I also like to mention about that of the the formation of the
Hmm.
Himalayan, the ridge, and that of the when actually the Indian continent, in fact, just India as a whole, in fact, hit that of the Eurasian plate, right from
Hmm.
that of the Pangean state of the Earth. Then what
Hmm.
happened is that the Tethys seas went up, and that of the Himalaya and the Himalaya range, it formed, and
True.
along with that Tibetan plateau also came up. So the fact is that when there is the oceanic current,
Hmm.
in fact, in terms of that of the warm and that of the cold, that
Hmm.
results into the moisture and the moistural laden air development. It
True.
happens that it gets carried over to that of from that of the southwest coast. That's why you hear that in fact when it is going to hit Kerala, so Kerala actually gets hit to the fast, and after that slowly it covers our entire nation, and it hits to that of the Himalayan plate. I mean the
Hmm.
Himalayan stratum, and that of the Himalayan heights, and after
Hmm.
that it retreats back to that of through that of what it happens is the northeast monsoon. So
Hmm.
southwest and that of the northeast monsoon, and there are also that of the northwest monsoon, which happens mainly that of the Pakistan and that of certain Gulf areas. No, it
Hmm.
happens. In fact, first it happens right from that of mid June to right up to your October, and again
Hmm.
from that of the winter months, right from that of November, December to right up to
Hmm.
January, February. So in fact,
Hmm.
we are in fact at a boon, right? In fact,
Hmm.
people all over the world has always welcomed monsoon with
Hmm.
that of worship, with that of various kind of fairs and various kind of festivals, and
Hmm.
also there are theogony of gods, right? That
Hmm.
itself will become another episode if I have to discover and in fact discuss with what kind of gods and goddesses in fact people all over the nations and all over the civilizations they worship, and it is
Hmm.
worth mentioning and it's worth studying.
Hmm.
So the fact is that monsoon has always been a welcome, yes,
Hmm.
but if you play with that of the laws of nature, in fact if you try to overdo
Hmm.
by over constructing or over utilizing the natural resources,
Hmm.
by cutting down or the felling down of trees, then in fact
Hmm.
over urbanization and that
Hmm.
of over construction of reality, and you just eroding that of your green zone and that of your green belt,
Hmm.
definitely is going to hit, right? And the
Correct.
fact is that Earth, along with that of the geological time scale, right
Hmm.
up to that of the ice age, in fact it has actually shaped what actually it is now, right? The present Earth situation of the Earth, and in
Hmm.
almost 11,000 or 12,000 years ago. Now,
Hmm.
the fact is that on a natural cause or a natural effect, the earth has changed, and that too without much of an intervention of the human factor, right?
True.
With that of the industrial civilization and that of the overdoing of that of the industrial civilization,
Hmm.
overdoing of that of the urbanization, and overdoing that of the various population aspects, what has
Hmm.
happened is that we have utilized and overutilized our resources, and that has also taken a toll on that of the climate and that of the climatic condition. So then
Correct.
monsoon became a bane and monsoon became a curse, with that of
True.
over rain, with that of famine or no rains, or with that of absolutely, I mean, there not had been any kind of rainfall, or even that kind there of floods,
Yeah.
droughts, and everything taken care of, right?
Hmm.
Everything being taken care of that. So in fact,
Hmm.
nature and natural laws, in fact, are absolutely very much in fact in absolutely in aberrations, or in fact is in linkage with that of the monsoon, right?
True.
And in fact, it is absolutely out of this entire art formation, entire formation of that of the ocean, entire
Hmm.
formation with that of the wind, entire
Hmm.
formation of that of the mountains. So
Hmm.
many factors are dependent in format in fact in formatting a monsoon, right? And
True.
in India, we are absolutely at a boom.
True. 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 So,
So
Mane. modern societies, are they actually adapting to the shift, or there is more which we need to adapt
I,
in our
I,
minds?
I believe that modern society kichu drawback, or there are certain drawbacks to it. And in
Hmm.
fact, the one factor is that it has overdrawn on that of your, I mean, in terms of their natural processes, when I mean they've cut across to that natural processes, and in
Hmm.
fact they develop what is being called as that of their, I mean, something as a civilization, or overdoing at that of the particular growth aspect. In fact, in driving the growth, what has happened is that we have foregone the basic aspects of that of the nature and that of the natural beings, and that
Hmm.
of the entire civilizational context. So in fact, we need to balance, and that's why we call it as a sustainable business development and sustainable development of business development goals. And with that of we can also go forward within that of the sustainable framework. We can also
Hmm.
go forward. The most
Hmm.
important thing is that of that. Just a minute. Just a minute.
Sure, no issues.
আরে পাম্পে জল পড়ছে তো। Sorry, is that actually we need to be, in fact, working across with that of the sustainability, right?
Hmm.
And with the sustenance, in fact, we also going to have moderated growth, and also we are going to take care of our nature. And the
True.
nature has given us such a boon, and such a, in fact, in terms of the natural wealth, or in fact with the nature's cause, we are actually getting the vegetation, and we are getting the agriculture. So in fact it has to effectuate in terms of that of the civilization and also economics too.
Hmm. So, before proceeding further, আমি একবার তোমার বুকটা ইউনিক মার্ভেলস অফ এনশিয়েন্ট ইন্ডিয়ান সিভিলাইজেশন, ওটার কভারটা একবার অডিয়েন্সকে দেখিয়ে দিই। Once again, we have shown it before, but again I would like to show it once. So I hope that is visible. So that is the cover. Yes, this is the cover of the book. So, audience, you can get a copy of this book, Unique Marvels of Ancient Indian Civilization. It has a lot of information on civilization and what were the various factors affecting civilization, and a lot more. Unless you read this book, you will not know its value. So, all of you, if you are interested in this topic, please go ahead and get a copy for yourself. That's a very interesting book. And now we are going to proceed further with our topic today. And the next question to Shubhodipta. তোমার জন্য মনসুন রিলেটেড কোনো মিথ বা স্টোরি যেটা দিয়ে তুমি খুব ফ্যাসিনেটেড হয়েছো?
মনসুন রিলেটেড মিথ বা স্টোরি আমার কাছে যেটা মনে হয়েছে, যেটা আহ, মানে এই যে রিসেন্টলি আমি একটা কাজ করছি, যেটা হচ্ছে আমার সেকেন্ড ভলিউমে যেটা বেরোবে, সেটা হচ্ছে যে নাস্কা লাইন্স, রাইট? ইনফ্যাক্ট পেরুতে
হুম।
ওরকম জিওগ্রাফিক স্ট্রাকচার, ওরকম
হুম।
মনে হবে যে মাটির ওপরে বা পাথরের ওপরে যেন এরকম আঁচড় কাটা আছে। তো
হুম।
দিস স্ট্রাকচার্স ইনফ্যাক্ট it was researched later, which actually
হুম।
happened during the era of mainly 12th century or 13th century, or during that time, when
হুম।
there were a lot of monsoonal changes which was happening, right? And these changes were happening first because of that of the El Nino effect, which was
হুম।
affecting that of the South American coast, as well
হুম।
as that of the Central American coast.
ট্রু।
Absolutely, the equator and the equatorial region up and little bit up and little bit down.
হুম।
And with that, what has happened is that certain places, in fact, in Central America had an over rain, and in fact, in certain places, in South America,
হুম।
mainly in the Peru region, in fact, it didn't have any rain.
হুম।
Earlier, it had a rich vegetation, and in fact, in crave for rain, and in fact, in desire for rain, what
হুম।
happened is that they worship gods and goddesses, and they made this inter cross sectional lines which are actually of that of the figurines of animals, figurines of various animals like that of scorpions, cats,
Hmm.
then in fact birds. And in
Hmm.
fact, they believe that, with that worship, they are going to get rains, number one. And the
Hmm.
theory was that, they wanted to have that kind of a irrigational structure to actually feed that of their field. And because, once upon a time, it was a very rich in terms of the vegetation of wheat and the barley. And in fact, before the Spanish conquest, that of the Incan civilization.
Hmm.
So it was being studied, by that of in this book. Actually, it covers out there in this book, and the second
Okay.
volume, in fact, I'm going to cover.
Oh,
So
great.
over there, in fact, it covers that, what actually the El Nino effect has definitely caused a region to become
Hmm.
absolutely dry and arid. Similarly, in fact, I was, reading a particularly phenomena which has
Hmm.
happened in the Sahara and the Saharan desert. That,
Hmm.
for long, in fact, we know that it is a desert and a desert area, arid
Hmm.
desert zone. But in one of the caves out there, in fact, in the Sahara, in fact, it actually has been found that in fact, cave art, in fact, which actually talks about the life of whichever period be.
Hmm.
And over there, in fact, it was being found that there were swarms. People grew swarms.
Hmm.
People grew various kind of agrarian activities and agro-related processing,
Hmm.
and they were wondering that, who were the people. And eventually, they got the scientists from Hungary and the
Hmm.
scientists from of the Central American institutions. They
Hmm.
got hold of certain human remains, and
Hmm.
they made a thorough genetic study, and they
Hmm.
could found out that these genes also live mainly from that of the sapiens category, and
Hmm.
also has got a Neanderthal touch, and also that of the sapiens and Neanderthal touch, and also that of the African population, which actually got intermixed and hybridized. So that
Hmm.
was one aspect. And the aspect which actually is the most striking, paripasu to the topic which we are discussing today, is that
Hmm.
of, it was a totally a green zone becoming a desert. And
Hmm.
again, from desert, in fact, it became green, and again, it has become a desert. So
True.
there are a lot of efforts at the present moment are being, given not on the Sahara and the Sub-Saharan belt, but also in that of the Arabian, and in fact in the Arabian belt, and also in that of the Sinai Peninsula and that of the region, wherein
Hmm.
to drip irrigation, in fact, if it can be even made as a vegetation possible zone or an
Hmm.
area. So
Hmm.
I believe that, the monsoon and monsoon myth, right? And in fact, he has his own story, which
Hmm.
has its own element of research, and which is still being undergone, or in fact which is undergoing. So we are going to
Hmm.
find out, right? Even
Hmm.
in case of our the drying and that of the Saraswati belt and of the
Hmm.
Saraswati river, and of the
Hmm.
deluges which actually happened in that of the Mohenjo-daro area, that
Hmm.
also it also in fact has a scope for further study.
হুম, অবশ্যই। সো তাহলে তোমার কি মনে হয় যে এই যে কালচারাল আর ইমোশনাল একটা সম্পর্ক আমাদের ছিল মনসুনের সাথে, সো উইথ আরবানাইজেশন এটা কি হারিয়ে যাচ্ছে কোনোভাবে?
আরবানাইজেশনের সঙ্গে তো ডেফিনেটলি খানিকটা তো হারিয়ে যাওয়ার চেষ্টা করছে। আমি বলব না যে হারিয়ে যাচ্ছে, কারণ এখন মানুষ চাইছে ইনফ্যাক্ট গোয়িং ব্যাক টু দ্য রুটস। And
হ্যাঁ,
probably after COVID, in fact, it has happened that we are we have thought ourselves within that
হুম,
period that actually what it was, or in
yeah,
fact what it will be. So in
হুম,
fact, people, they are trying to take rest from that of our urban life,
ঠিক,
right? And in fact, go into the countryside or go into the villages, and
হুম,
find out certain places where we can enjoy
হুম,
various the seasonal changes, right? Even
একদম,
some place in fact in Murshidabad, they are having the mango festival, and in fact they are having a cultural feast, in fact in one of the heritage cottages.
হুম,
So the fact is that in fact in the ancient period there was an element of water storage, right? In fact,
হুম,
I just missed that point, which I'm going to include it here. And in fact, if you look into the Patan Ganga, or in fact that of the Ranika, in fact, in fact Kua, or in fact Ranika Dhob, in fact
হুম,
mainly in that of the Gujarat region and that of the Harappan belt, in the part of the Harappan belt, you will
হুম,
find that there were elements of the storage, or in fact of water.
হুম,
So in fact, now we have again started. In fact, various states have that particular formulation. That
Hmm,
whatever the reality you construct, houses or a housing society, or
hmm,
even in fact in the rain-fed villages, in fact you have to do a particularly in terms of monsoon water storage, right?
hmm, hmm,
Second is that what we need to take care is that
hmm,
of the the flash flood situations. At the
hmm,
current moment, in fact, in Midapur and that of the Bakura region, in fact, they are actually suffering. And
hmm,
the fact is that this area, mainly that of the Damodar and the Damodar belt, in fact,
hmm,
it required a lot of desilting. It required a lot of again redamming and that of construction and bypassing of that of the canals. So in
hmm,
fact, it requires that kind of an infrastructure, in order to suffice that of the value of rain, and
hmm,
also not to cause flood, and that not to cause havoc, and also in fact in terms of the damage which is happening in terms of the economic and social damages which are happening in the social economic structure. Even in fact in case of Assam also, a lot of things in fact which are being said that if China
hmm,
constructs a dam, in fact in that area of their entering the Brahmaputra entering. So but
hmm,
the fact is that the Sangpo or the Siam till Arunachal, it doesn't have that much of the rain fed areas. But what
hmm,
happens is that once it crosses that of the Arunachal and enters the Assam, in fact it gets the bulk, right? The Brahmaputra, when it becomes Brahmaputra, it gains the bulk, and the maximum
hmm,
bulk, in fact, in the Brahmaputra has gained in that of the
hmm,
Nilgiri area, hill areas, mainly on that very near to that of the Kamakka, right? Nilgiri Kamakka Parvate, and that of the Pandu region of Guwahati. So
hmm,
the fact is that we need to understand how we can utilize the the river water, and in
hmm,
fact not to keep a city of like Guwahati, which is
hmm,
totally in fact sometimes it gets dry, and in fact
hmm,
in the morning in fact you can see the rush of the tanks and that of the storage devices, and feeding your in fact in terms of your water, in fact in
hmm.
your overhead tanks. So that should not happen, right? In fact this particular water is actually our asset, it is our boon, and we should actually keep hold of it.
ট্রু ট্রু। এইবার খুব তাড়াতাড়ি করে আমি আমাদের ভিউয়ার্স বা অডিয়েন্সদেরকে একটা কোয়েশ্চেন জিজ্ঞেস করতে চাই, অ্যান্ড ইউ অল ক্যান আনসার ইন দ্য কমেন্টস। হাউ ডাজ দ্য মনসুন সিজন এফেক্ট ইউ পার্সোনালি? সো তোমাদের ভালো লাগে, বিরক্তিকর লাগে, কিরম লাগে মনসুন, তোমরা টাইপ করো কমেন্টসে। আর এবার শুভদীপ দাকে যে প্রশ্নটা, যে আমাদের অডিয়েন্স যদি এই ব্যাপারটা নিয়ে আরো পড়তে চায়, আরো নলেজ গেইন করতে চায়, স্টুডেন্টস, অ্যাসপাইরিং রাইটার্স, রিসার্চার্স, এনিওয়ান হু ইজ ওয়াচিং আস, তাদের মধ্যে কেউ যদি কোনো রিসোর্স চাইছে এটার জন্য, তো এটার জন্য কোনো বুকস, আর্টিকেলস, ডকুমেন্টারিজ তুমি যদি কিছু রেকমেন্ড করতে চাও অডিয়েন্সকে।
Definitely, Monsoon and Civilization টা পড়তে পারে। This is edited by Ishori Usuda and Vasan Sinde এবং
ওকে।
Institute of Studies and Research Japan and Deccan College Pune, they have jointly done the study. It is an excellent book and book of records which gives the historical data. They
হুম,
can also study the various the hydrological data of rivers,
হুম, হুম,
from the basically the Institute of Hydrology or
হুম,
Institute of river studies. They can actually access.
হুম,
Even they can access various the journals which are related to it, with hydrological studies and that of riverine belt studies. And
হুম,
also they can access various studies which is happening with that of the Department of Agriculture and Statistics, DAS, and Department
একদম।
of Agriculture and Cooperative, and also relating to agroeconomics. Indian Council of Agriculture report and Agriculture Research has got various journals on this they can study. And
ওকে।
definitely the geographical studies are in fact are there from that of the National Geographic or any kind of other institutions which are in this particular field.
গ্রেট, গ্রেট। এবার আমাদের নেক্সট রাউন্ড, যেটা খুবই ফান রাউন্ডে আসছি, and that is one of my favorites, that is the rapid fire round. So today's
Mhm.
rapid fire, I am naming it as the Monsoon Burst. So it is going to be very interesting. একটু offbeat এই সিভিলাইজেশনের আলোচনাটার থেকে। What is your favorite sound during monsoon?
My
শুভদীপ।
favorite sound is nothing but that of what should I call? In fact, just the rainfall and the raindrops. That's all. I
ও,
don't like anything to the sound. In fact, affecting me.
that
And
sound
though
is
in
itself soothing. That is itself soothing. That continuous
That
drizzle
itself
sound.
is soothing, right? In fact, in a very quiet and a desolate place, like somewhere, in fact, in Delo, or in fact, in
Hmm.
somewhere in Rishab, or
Ekdom.
somewhere, in fact, in in fact, in Mussoorie, or
Hmm.
somewhere in Shillong. In fact, you can have a good enjoyment of that particular rain. Or in
Ekdom.
fact, some of the tea tea gardens, in fact,
Yeah.
in the vicinity of Darjeeling, in fact, in Kalimpong, they have
Hmm.
this kind of the places and the ambience. In fact, over there, they can definitely, we all of us can enjoy,
Yeah, true.
and
So when
in fact, they can also enjoy, the people who are actually watching this program today.
exactly, exactly. And when it's raining, what is your choice? Cup of tea or cup of coffee?
So obviously, it has to be a cup of tea,
Yeah.
and might be a fast flush.
Okay.
And because the first flush, in fact, I would love to have.
Okay.
And anything of related to tea only, like first flush, or in fact any, even in the second flush, in fact, if I go, in fact, in the later monsoon period, or in fact, if I want to have a little bit of a karak chai, then in fact I can go for a Earl Grey, the British Earl Grey. So in fact I will
Hmm.
be enjoying the tea. So Cochrane Place, in fact, which is there very near to Kalimpong, over there were tea tasting sessions
Hmm.
which used to happen. In fact, when I was there almost 7 to 8 years ago, I don't know. In fact, a lot of tea tasting sessions to happen. In fact, in gardens, and in fact, the tea gardens have opened up with their, I mean, the resorts or in the boutique hotels. Wherein they invite the customers and invite the people, those who are staying there, for the tea tasting sessions. So they can definitely get themselves engaged with that. Or in fact, in the old Cochrane place, in fact, I used to enjoy in my own days. In fact, in Siliguri and Darjeeling, which I used
Hmm.
to enjoy. So in fact, they can enjoy also out there itself.
Great, great. And I find the audience also taking part in this discussion. So AD Block says that Brishtite romantic environment lage, cup of tea he would enjoy, and onion pakora. Okay, great. Interesting. So the next
আমি তো
question.
ভাবছিলাম যে খিচুড়ির কথা বলবে, বাঙালি যখন তখন খিচুড়ির কথা বলবে, মাছে ভাতে বাঙালি যখন তখন খিচুড়ি আর
একদম,
মাছ ভাজার কথা তো বলবে।
একদম অবশ্যই। So if given a choice, which is your that favorite book which you will like to read again and again on a rainy day?
Well, actually, I would love to read, poems,
Okay.
like I believe that poems like Bosha Japon, and then in fact I would love to read because I don't get time to read those, when I'm in fact in a project, or in fact I'm in a writing spree. In
Hmm.
fact, since I write absolutely in a hardcore non-fiction, so I don't get a time. So probably, I can take a break, can in fact take a rainy season break, deliberate break, probably in fact in the areas which I was just mentioning, and
Yeah.
read something, in fact, that of Ravi Thakur, or that of Shelley, or that
Hmm.
of Keats. In fact, I can enjoy, and also Wordsworth. Those who are in fact related to that of the nature, and that of the natural romance, and that of the
Hmm.
romantic poets. In fact, I can romantic poems I can just enjoy.
Great, great, great.
So this is it actually.
So according to you, a movie that captures the mood of monsoon.
Definitely, it is first is Lagan. In fact, during when Lagan was actually first released, in fact,
Hmm.
nobody could have idea that how cricket, and in fact that of the monsoon, the arrival of monsoon, right? It can be a thematic approach to a film, but the entire the crew of this I believe who was there, in fact, the producer of that particular film, in Hirani or some, I just forgot the name, but the
Hmm.
entire crew, along with that of Amir Khan and others, so they could come out with such a theme. And definitely a life in a metro, a very complex film, which actually relates to our lives.
Hmm.
It is actually one of my favorite too.
So when you have talked about life in a metro, now my question is, if you were given a chance to live in any rain-soaked city from history, which one would it be?
A rain-soaked city from history, definitely. In fact, I would love to be in any of the places in Northeast. Might
Hmm.
be, in fact, Shillong definitely will be my favorite area. That is
Okay.
that area. In fact, I in fact in a total life, I mean, love with that. You have
Hmm.
got the lake, you have got the mountains, you have got the hillocks, and you just sit down with whatever you want to do with your laptop, or in fact with your book, or wherever, in fact in the terrace, you just sit down and you do your work, in fact in terms of your writing and also in terms of your work, and at the same time you can enjoy the nature.
True, true, true. And which historical figure would you love to have a monsoon themed conversation with?
Oh yes, definitely with Arthur Cotton, because fourth generation above mine, in fact, who was Shuvadeep Banerjee Chaudhuri. In
Hmm.
fact, our ancestors, in fact, they stayed in that part of the Bengal,
Hmm.
which is now Bangladesh, and in fact, Bikrampur area of Dhaka, in fact, had a very flood ravine zone because of the
Hmm.
Padda, and in fact,
Hmm.
river cut across, in fact, various cities, various places. In fact, we also lost our property in any
Hmm.
of that particular period. And
Hmm.
Arthur Cotton, and in fact, my great great grandfather, in fact, they
Hmm.
had got a lot of interactions with them, and in fact, they took out a newspaper also over there. They covered the
Hmm.
areas of that of the disaster management, and how river and the riverine system, it can be
Hmm.
a boon, at the same time it can be a bane. But Arthur
Hmm.
Cotton is very pioneer and a legend in terms of
Hmm.
first saying that how rivers can be debulked through
Hmm.
canals,
Hmm.
through kind of interlinking of various canals, and
Hmm.
also through various other riverine system, so that India has got a gets a very robust kind of an irrigation facility. At the
Hmm.
same time, utilize the property and that of the utilize the power of
Hmm.
rain, and
Hmm.
also in fact feed our field to
Hmm.
get the cultivation which actually feeds the population, as
Hmm.
also takes care of the growth and prosperity.
Hmm. Ekdom, ekdom. So,
So
one
also,
important thing about Arthur Cotton. So, you have been inspired by him a lot, I feel so.
absolutely. In fact, I have written also about interlinking of rivers. In fact,
Hmm.
I have worked on that of that how this particular river and that of the water resource
Hmm.
can be used in that of the irrigation purpose, be it in
Hmm.
that of the moderate size, mid size, or that of the drip size
Hmm.
irrigation, and also that of the monsoon rain harvesting, and that of the monsoon water storage.
Hmm.
So, what that thing is there. In fact, also we need to take care of that of the changes in that of the cropping pattern, which is happening with that of the climatic changes,
Hmm.
which is one aspect which is related to that of monsoon, and another aspect definitely because of that of the extended rainy season, and also because of that of short summer, extended rainy season, and that of a very sultry
Hmm.
autumnal phases, we have
Hmm.
got a lot of viral infections. We also have a lot of infectious diseases, which is
Hmm.
happening, in fact, in India, and also, in fact, in the Asia Pacific region, like
Hmm.
that of dengue, later malaria. So, in fact, the increase of that particular diseases also creates an hazard, which we
Hmm.
need to take care of. First is that of the climatic health, or that of the change in the resilience to that of the climate and that of the climatic health. And
Hmm.
second point is that of the the kind of the cropping pattern which we are having a change. To give
Hmm.
you an example, in fact, it has happened that the West Bengal, in fact, the area of the cultivation for wheat has increased, because in some
Hmm.
of the seasons, in fact, it has got a winter arriving early, and that of winter going off late. So
Hmm.
the fact is that generally it doesn't happen. Generally, it happens in that of the wheat cultivation belt, that of the northwest India. But
Hmm.
you know these cropping patterns are getting changed, and also
Hmm.
the crops get absolutely washed away, in fact, in the flood. So we need to take care of that, particularly I mean this aspect of security, and also
Hmm.
of the risk, and we need to mitigate that, right? And also take care of that of the cropping pattern, which is very
True, and
important
we
from
need
that
to
of the
understand. We
economic
need
point
to
of view.
understand. And present generation or the present society needs to understand the significance of monsoon. So,
Absolutely, absolutely.
yes, that is a lovely message you have given through your discussion. And
Thank you.
audience and viewers, আমি অডিয়েন্স এন্ড ভিউয়ার্সকে একটা প্রশ্ন জিজ্ঞেস করেছিলাম, তাতে এডি ব্লগ একটা খুবই সুন্দর কবিতার কথা এখানে লিখেছে, যেটা তার মনে পড়ে বর্ষাকালে। থ্যাংক ইউ
আচ্ছা,
এডি ব্লগ, থ্যাংক ইউ ফর ইন্টারঅ্যাক্টিভ। ওটা স্ক্রিনে ডিসপ্লে হয়ে গেছে, সো ইউ অল
আচ্ছা।
ক্যান গো দ্যাট। ইয়া, সো থ্যাংক ইউ এডি ব্লগ। So, Shubhodip, what message would you like to give to your audience today?
Now, I would like to give that, take care of the, what nature has given as a boon,
Hmm.
right? As a blessing, right?
Hmm.
And don't misutilize with that of the, natural call
Agree.
by, I mean that, going for an upscale property somewhere, in fact, in between Pune and that
Hmm.
of Bombay on the hilly tracts,
Hmm.
because you had this, the kind of a deluge wherein the entire, the rock surface was being cut across with that of
Hmm.
the entire housing, area. In fact, it is going down the river.
Hmm.
Definitely, in fact, had that of the deluge which happened in the, in fact, in the I mean the Kedarnath, in fact Dham, in fact, which is also which was there, in fact, few years back. And in
Hmm.
fact, I think the people have not forgotten that. And also
Hmm.
the Wayanad crisis, in fact, which happened because of the over construction, in fact, blocking that of the riverine and that of the water bodies, riverine bodies and the water bodies. So,
Hmm.
in fact, we need to take care of our nature. We need to take care of our natural blessings, as well as we need not overdo. And in fact, nothing is, in fact, can be achieved by overdoing.
Hmm.
Rather, in fact, we need to, take a moderate path. Anything of excess is a poison, what Swamiji had said. So, we need to take an iteration and that of the moderation and the
Hmm.
moderate path.
Hmm. So, Shubhodipda, today's conversation has been really wonderful. And through discussion with you, history, nature, emotion all got woven together very beautifully. So, thank you
Thank you very
so
much.
much again for all your insights. And every time you join us, you have illuminated us with new ideas, your research on civilization. It's commendable. Thank you so
Thank you
much
very
for
much. Thank you.
joining us.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah. And dear viewers, before we wrap up, there is one recommendation we have to make. Don't forget to grab your copy of Unique Marvels of Ancient Indian Civilization. It is not just a book on history or just on the Bhimbetkan civilization. It is a unique perspective on how civilization connects with nature also. So you are
Absolutely.
going to gain a lot from this book. So go ahead and get your copy of Unique Marvels of Ancient Indian Civilization, authored by Shuvadeep Banerjee Chaudhuri. And thank you so much for the book, sir.
Thank
It
you.
is going
Thank you
to
very much.
help many of us. So, dear
Thank you very much.
viewers, let us thank Shubhodipta. And if you have liked the video, please subscribe to our channel, hit the bell icon, because more stories are coming up and we will be having many such episodes with Shubhodipta also in the future. Various interesting topics are coming your way. So, subscribe to our channel. And once again, it is time to say goodbye now. So, by then, let the rain become a song of memory, reflection, and understanding. Stay healthy, stay well, and keep listening to the rhythm of the rain. So this is
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Chan signing off. And thank you so much,
It
Shubhodipda,
is
for
like Rimjim Ghire Savan. In fact, the famous, the picturesque song by, Monsoon Chatterjee and Amitabh Bachchan. In
I
fact,
know.
that's actually we think about, right?
Great, great, great.
So that is,
Thank you so much. Thank you, audience,
thank
for
you.
being a part of us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
we are ending it here. Thank you.
Thank you.